e depois sai quando me deres o ok.
Sim, se puderes.
Ok.
Ok.
Olha, já foi.
E depois sai quando me deres o ok.
Yeah. we are in live, I suppose. Yeah. Okay. Olha, já foi. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we are live in YouTube. It's after lunch in Lisbon. It's not the perfect hour for live sessions, but it's what we have. And so let's start with this first session that we start now in the second lockdown in Portugal, in the context also of our project MetroGov. And this research project is a project that was begun 2 years ago, and it's about the governance in the metropolitan area of Lisbon, and is about their problems with cooperation, competition, conflicts, and so over. So it's for me, I'm the principal investigator, and I suppose this is a very important topic for our region, because we saw a lot of problems in result of the problems of governance. So this is a nice project that I want to also to give notice. And the second idea that I need to leave is that now we in this session we have two important cities, and very different also. And this is the idea: it's to have a very different context in order to see better the daily life that we feel in the two metropolis, in the different policies and different challenge and etc. And so it's why I want to first of all to give the welcome to Leo and Davit from Leo from the Aachen. I don't know if I can say in the perfect well, but and from Tbilisi, Davit. And also I want to thanks to Pedro Pinto and Sofia Bizarre that help us to put this session on live in YouTube also. So thank you for coming, and also thank you Pedro and Sofia for your help. So let's start. And I can first maybe ask to David and Leo, maybe we can start with Leo, to present yourself, please, what you are doing, how you, what is the relation with your metropolis, and just to give a first framework of your presence in your metropolitan area.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Well, my name is Leo Oorschot. I'm an urbanist and architect from Delft University of Technology. I work there as a researcher for the so-called 1 Million Homes program. That program is dealing with all problems with housing in the urban regions at the moment. The problems are quite complex at the moment because we have the pandemic at the moment. The energy transition is going on, and there are many more transitions going on. So problems are quite complex, and well, we're doing research after that, and we're writing articles about it and advice. So that's my main task in Delft.
Okay, thank you. And you, David?
Hello once again. It's a really pleasure for me to be a part of your session. Actually, I'm urban planner. I have graduated Technical Lisboa, and after my arrival, actually, I was leading the urban policy and planning department of Tbilisi City Hall. And currently I'm working at the University of Georgia. I'm giving classes over there in direction of urban and landscape planning. And at the same time, I'm working on a private sector, and we are developing some detailed development plans for a current neighborhood of the Tbilisi city.
Okay, thank you. And what about the relationship that you have with your metropolis? It's only a functional relationship. It's only around your home and your work, or you have much more complex relationship between your urban region, or you live in a bubble around your homes and work. What about this question? How do you feel your metropolis? How do you live your metropolis?
Well, I like it.
Yeah,
I think it is a fantastic experience, especially because it's not one city, it's a cluster of cities with complete different identities and different qualities. And to be honest, yeah, there are so many amenities in the city. There's the sea, along the sea you can go there. There's nature, but yeah, I think the differentiation in environments is fantastic.
okay. And you, David?
From my point of view, actually, I have kind of different interactions with the metropolis and the city. On the one hand, my profession helps me to concentrate in the direction of the development and to be involved in the city policies, and on one hand, on the development of the cities. And on another hand, I'm kind of active citizen who really cares about how city is developing, how public are involved in the city development, and I'm always trying also to another hand to be an active citizen in my city, actually.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And David, if you need to explain your metropolitan region for some friend that lives far from Georgia or from Tbilisi, how you describe it?
Actually, like Tbilisi and like metropolis of Tbilisi is kind of multicultural. There is like a lot of nations around the world. Actually, it's like and it helps to develop with a different way for the city, because we're in a city is like an interaction of the different cultures. So you can feel the different souls in each neighborhood. Actually, that's why like I can say that Tbilisi is like a multi-ethnical city. That's why like for foreign friends, it's kind of really comfortable to stay here and to live here.
Mm-hmm. And what is the human dimension of these cities?
Actually, the population is around 1.1 million. And mostly like Tbilisi is one of the biggest city in the country, and one of the dense city, I can say. And also like it's like a main core in a way of the economical development, because all businesses, all big businesses, I can say, and mostly all construction are concentrated in Tbilisi. And it's one of the biggest job market in entire Georgia. That's why like I can say that we have like a really big internal migration of the citizens, because from small towns, people are coming in Tbilisi to work. And actually, like we have two satellite cities. It's like a small towns in our metropolitan region. It's like a city of Rustavi and Tskheta. And people are coming from those two cities in a daily base. They are just coming to work, and at the afternoon, like at the evening, they are going back to the small cities. But in general, it's mostly dense city, Tbilisi, and one of the biggest job and economic market, as I said before.
Thank you, David. And you, Leo, how you describe your metropolitan area and all the complexity, if you want,
Yeah.
to someone that don't know anything about your region?
Well, the region, I live in the so-called metropolitan region, Rotterdam, Den Haag. Besides another big metropolitan region, that's Amsterdam. and another one, a big one, that's Utrecht. So in the Netherlands, there are some clusters of from urban regions, actually. And to live in the region Den Haag, Rotterdam, well, we are at the moment in quite rapidly growing region, actually. There are many people coming to the cities at the moment from inside the Netherlands, but also from whole Europe. And at the moment, there are many people from the UK also coming over, not only people, but also companies, because it's easy going for them to go to the Netherlands, because many people are speaking English first. There are many bilingual schools also in the Netherlands, so it's easy to plug in the society. And there's already Den Haag and Rotterdam, the most people who live here are already born outside the Netherlands. So it's quite international already. So
can we have like a dimension for this metropolitan area?
Yeah, more than 2 million people.
2 million?
Yeah, more than 2 million. Yeah. Yeah, that's Delft is in between Rotterdam and Den Haag. But you have Zoetermeer, you have Dordrecht, you have Leiden. Leiden is a university city, Delft is also. There's also collaboration between those universities in Rotterdam, Delft, and Leiden. And yeah, and everything is quite nearby because it's easy traveling from Leiden to Rotterdam and Rotterdam to Den Haag, public transport. So that makes it quite dense, actually.
But Leo, you don't have like a metropolitan center. You have 3 or 4 or 5 centers. I don't know.
Yeah. You have 2 big centers. That's Rotterdam and Den Haag, and then you have Leiden Center. That's in Delft, and yeah, and of Dordrecht is also a center, but not that big. So yeah, it's a polycentric urban region, actually.
So this is a very, I suppose, huge difference from Tbilisi, because in Tbilisi it's more like in Lisbon. We have like a very true and strong center, and after we have a large suburban area. And Leo, but you think that you also have like a problem in the metropolitan area, so or it's because you have different centers and they are organized in a very well way, so it's everything is working in the perfection, so you don't have any problems, or not?
Well, there are many problems, but one thing is not a problem, that they are all their own center. Because Delft, that it's okay that they are Delft, and Leiden, they like to be Leiden, and it's okay. Actually, it's also a policy to make a differentiation between the centers, to have your own identity. But of course, there are many problems in the metropole region, which is affected everybody. For example, affordability of housing, migration, and cheap money, what implements that the cost of buildings are extremely high now at the moment. It's almost impossible to build cheap or affordable houses at the moment. So there are many new people coming to the urban regions, but affordability of those apartments or units or houses, that's at the moment a big problem. So that's one of the biggest challenges.
And do you think that the metropolitan scale can be a good scale for facing these problems, not resolving, because we don't know if it is possible to solve directly the problem, but to think in a solution for the problem?
Yeah, I think that there's a collaboration about that with the so-called woondeals. That's a deal which is by the government with with the different urban regions. The government makes deals about the dwellings and affordability of that. So we try to solve that, but still there are a lot strange money invested in the urban regions at the moment. So the price of the buildings and the ground or the plots are extremely high now. So
Yeah. Okay.
we try to solve it, but
yeah, it's not easy. And
not
David,
easy.
yeah. And David, also we have a metropolitan problem in Tbilisi or not?
Yeah, we do have, as you mentioned, George, like Lisbon, like Tbilisi is like a centric and core city in like a metropolitan area. And like I mentioned, like two satellite cities, and like as Leo mentioned, we have also problem with the affordable housing problem too, because one satellite city, which called Scheta, is like a small town, and actually that town is like has a status of the UNESCO heritage. That's why like it's kind of it's not really cheap to buy over there. The flats there's located mostly villas and etc. You know, and there is no kind of new development of the affordable housing block of flats. So it's like there's density. It's like we have low density over there. And on another city like which is like a Rustavit, and so it's nearby to Tbilisi, there is like I can say that that city was planned during the Soviet time, and there is like a block of flats, but there is a lot of new constructions. And mostly as Tbilisi is like a core city in between these three cities actually, and biggest job market, everybody would like to buy a flat in Tbilisi, and day by day it became quite expensive. And another problem why people would like to move in Tbilisi is like a connection between those cities. Actually, during the Soviet times, those three cities was connected by the commuter train, but nowadays, like we do not have like a commuter train between these cities. It's only kind of cargo trains are going over there. And connection by bus, it's kind of really hard and not really comfortable, because still there need to work on a transport policy and to develop kind of a really good bus system. And now government is working on that, but in the current situation, it's kind of mobility is kind of hard, and mostly people are moving by the private cars. That's why like people, they prefer to buy a flat in Tbilisi and to be kind of close by near their jobs than to travel by their own car in a daily basis. And actually that cause like to move with a private car cause air pollution, like there's like increased number of the traffic and etc. You know, like, and we have this kind of problem in the metropolitan area actually.
What is the average for the travel time for suburban commuters, if you want?
I can say like
in average.
You know, it depends actually. It's in Tbilisi, for example, to move on normally it's around 30-40 minutes. But if there is rush hour, of course, that number of hours is like twice bigger.
Just to understand better the complexity of these questions, how many municipalities you have in Tbilisi or in the region, the metropolitan region?
Actually, in metropolitan region, we have 3 municipalities, and Tbilisi is one of the biggest municipality, which has like 11 neighborhood, and each neighborhood has a local administration.
Okay.
Actually, which is under of the Tbilisi city hall.
So
how many
municipalities? Because I don't have understand.
3 municipalities.
3. Okay.
But it's under the umbrella of on a national level, actually.
But each municipality have like different neighborhoods inside, yeah?
Yeah, different neighborhood and administrative districts and offices.
Okay. And Leo, in Rotterdam region?
Den Haag, Rotterdam region, Leiden, Delft, Dordrecht. There's the collaboration of, I guess, 23 municipalities.
23.
Yeah.
Okay. So they cooperate between them in order to try to solve the different problems, yeah?
Yeah, mainly on economic affairs and on mobility.
Yeah.
And with the Woon deal, it's about they negotiate with the government about money. And
But sometimes you don't have some issues or some questions that where they don't agree between them. So
yeah,
yeah,
always.
yeah.
Well, yeah, but the municipalities have their own identity, which is okay, which is also a policy. I think, and I think it's okay.
But Leo, sorry, you have the national layer for
Yeah.
and in between you have some regional layer or not?
No, that's complex in the Netherlands. You have the national layer, and then you have so-called districts or provinces. You have
Yeah.
the province South Holland, for example. And then besides that, you have the urban regions, because not every part in the province is dense inhabited. So, and
So
then
all these layers have governments or not?
only the province is an elected government, and the government and the municipalities. So the three layers are elected, and not and and the you have also so-called. Stil, ik ben bezig. Stil. Ja, ligt in mijn tas wel. Sorry. And then we have we have so-called waterschappen. They are dealing with the environment, with water management, which is also quite important in the Netherlands because we have enormous water problems at the moment. And then we have a layer which is dealing with energy transition. And the so-called waterschappen, they are also elected, but the energy transition layer is governance is not elected. So that's a collaboration. Okay. So that's quite complex.
Yeah, it's not easy to understand all of this complexity.
Strange thing is that the water management layer is the oldest one. It's from the medieval period already, just before the cities were growing. So,
and just to combine all of these powers, I suppose it is not always can be easy to.
No, it's not always easy. Yeah. And there's always a tension between. But when it comes to power, then the cities themselves, like Rotterdam or Amsterdam or Den Haag, well, they are just decisive in it, actually.
And for Tbilisi, remember me, please, David. You have also only 2 layers, no? For national and municipalities.
And local, yeah. But like in a country level, we have like a 2 level. One is like your upper is like a national level, and afterwards it's like a local level. But it's like mostly it's the country like concentrated is the Ministry of the Regional Development, which is like in charge of the kind of national level, and afterwards it's kind of spread to the municipalities. But it depends, like as I mentioned, Tbilisi is like the biggest and kind of powerful, and they are having the most kind of strong rules and etc. But on another municipalities, like a small municipalities, like a Ministry of the Regional Development is in charge of the issuing of the permits or another economic activities, you know, like it depends on a municipality, how strong is it.
But the layers with elected governments, you have the national, the municipality in the neighborhoods or districts, no? Or
yeah, we do have, like as I mentioned, we have like a district management, but it's under the local, you know, like under the city hall.
But they are elected or not?
Yeah, they are elected.
Okay, okay, fine, thank you. And the people that living in your area, they feel that, or they know, or they perceive the existence of the metropolitan area, or just they think only about their own city and neighborhood, or how they how they look to the region, the metropolitan region, or they don't think like that. They just think in the spaces that they need to the daily life and not for the global area. So it's difficult, because we are talking about metropolis, but if people don't feel the metropolis or don't understand what can be the metropolis, it's difficult, I understand. So, and even if I want to make or to propose like a layer for the metropolitan area with some elections for this, people maybe cannot understand the idea or the importance of this layer. So we are in this process. It's not easy to solve this question. I don't know, David, what do you think about this challenge? What people feel about the region? And
yeah, I can say like it's like it depends. It varies of the understanding of the special planning and etc. in a society. No one like. But in general, I can say that, for example, people who lives in nearby cities in a metropolitan area and who are coming daily basis in a capital city, maybe they have more complex understanding how that kind of problem and issues has to be solved. But on another hand, also like people who lives Tbilisians, who lives in Tbilisi, also I guess also they feel the problem of the metropolis due to, I mentioned, the internal migration, rise traffic in a city, and nowadays more people are starting to talk about the metropolitan problems, actually how the problems about the traffics or transport must be solved. And actually like few years ago, the government decided to put kind of public services in a different metropolitan areas, in a small towns. For example, if you would like to take a drive license, you have to go to another city for that. In Tbilisi, you can't find that service because kind of to proceed and to promote for Tbilisians to go to another metropolitan, not for inhabitants to come only in Tbilisi.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, that's why we have this kind of movements, but also there was talk to allocate some kind of biggest markets which is located in Tbilisi to the nearby to the another metropolitan towns, to split this kind of flow of the people in a daily basis, to activate more that two towns, because during the day they are kind of becoming ghost towns, because it's becoming like a sleeping neighborhood, not a real cities and towns. That's why we have to start to think in the direction, and there is some talks between people and citizens, but still they need a kind of more complex understanding, because more of them, they are not urban planners and architects to understand this issue deeply. That's why I think it's public participation and communication in this regard is kind of crucial, to give them understand how it's important to become a stronger kind of nearby towns than inner city.
So it's so interesting, David, because we all in the spatial planning, we always tell that the answer for the commuters or all the hard traffic that you have in several parts of the day that coming for the city center, maybe can be also solved with some urban interventions or regional interventions in the suburban area, in order to distribute in a better way the facilities and the functional service and etc., in order to create more jobs and more opportunities around. But because the municipalities have a very strong competition between them, sometimes it's not possible to make this distribution, because Lisbon wants to have more and more importance. The others also wants to have some importance, but it's not easy to solve this equation. We have some municipalities in Lisbon, like Cascais or Oeiras, that can also attract some jobs and some qualifying jobs, but some others cannot. So, but it is a good solution or a good contribution for the solution. I don't know, but it's interesting, David. Very, very interesting. It's not easy to see this kind of decision or this kind of transformation in the metropolitan area. I suppose. Leo, I don't know what you think about, and what you can see also in the in Rotterdam and The Hague.
Yeah, first about the feeling of metropole area. Well, in Rotterdam, Den Haag, Delft region, you don't feel it quite well. It's different than in Amsterdam, for example. If you are in the Amsterdam metropole area, if you are there living, then you feel that you are part of Amsterdam. Or if you are, for example, Utrecht, you feel that you are part of Utrecht. Like Tbilisi, it's a centric situation. But the Rotterdam, Delft, Leiden, Den Haag area, well, there are all kinds of municipalities which are quite different, actually. Leiden and Delft are quite old. They are historic centers. Delft as well. Rotterdam is a complete new rebuilt center from the post-war period. And they all have a complete own identity. So that, but still there is a feeling that you are part of the so-called southern part of South Holland, because it's a lot of people are working in that area. Many people from Rotterdam works in Den Haag and from Leiden in Rotterdam and whatever. So it's easy to commute. So there are a lot of amenities shared also. I think.
Leo, you have like a kind of authority for the public transportation or not?
Yeah, that's the metropole region Rotterdam Den Haag. That's the authority which is dealing with the public transport, or with mobility in general, actually.
Who is in charge in this metropolitan transportation authority? It's it's a national department of the government, or is from the municipality?
No, the municipalities themselves, they have representatives in it. Okay. So there are the different elements of the municipality are joining that, but also different people from the city councils are joining that. So, but it's not really lively, to be honest, in Den Haag, Rotterdam area. But they're dealing mainly, as I told you, with mobility and with economic development.
And if we are talking, for example, in also climate changes, you have like a plan or authority also, and it's from municipality, or it's also from other layers?
It's mainly the municipality, and we have nowadays, we have so-called RES, that's regional energy strategies. That's also collaboration between municipalities about energy transition. And it's not the same as the metropolitan region, but almost the same.
And David, in Tbilisi also, for example, the climate changes are an important issue or not, and how you organize yourself to manage the problem and searching the answers or some proposals?
Yeah, in the regard of the climate change, also we are in a part of the United Nations SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. I mean, and like a city is actively works on that strategy to create more became a more green city. And nowadays, Tbilisi City Hall, actually, they start to work actively on the air pollution issues, and they are bringing in a city new kind of public buses. And they are promoting the eco cars, electrical cars, I mean, and they are just putting a lot of bike lines to promote the scooter and alternative eco-friendly transport in a city. But it's like a really complex issue, and there's a plan to build several big parks in the entire city, but still there is a lot of problem. We have problem with like during the construction. There is like a construction dust. I mean, a lot of problems around that, and step by step, like the city is working actively to follow the SDGs, actually, which is set by the United Nations, and we have milestones, and actually that direction was one of the key direction, because several, also Tbilisi is a part of the 100 Resilient City program, and the last year that strategy was adopted for Tbilisi. And we have like a special direction on this regard in that strategy, which also like is part of the Tbilisi master plan itself, because master plan of the Tbilisi was adopted last year, and I was taking active part on that from the side of Tbilisi City Hall, and it sets like a 4 main strategy of the development for a city for the next future. It's like a first pillar is like a green city, another one is like connected city, which means that city must to be connected with the metropolitan area, quite friendly. Compact city, because we have a problem of the urban expansion, I mean, because mostly people are going in the center, from the center to the suburban areas. They are building single family houses, and it's like became really problem for Tbilisi, that kind of urban expansion. And the final step, which kind of consolidates all these issues, is like a resilience Tbilisi, which is follows for the 100 resilient city strategy itself.
And about the governance of others sectoral dimensions like energy and transportation or water, provide service?
Yeah, it's mostly concentrated and split it to the municipalities. For example, it's like to compare to the Netherlands system, it's quite different here, because like each municipality is responsible for development of their own transport, and it's kind of not really pretty much linked to each other, because that is not a set on a national level. On a national level, Ministry of the Regional Development is in charge of the development in the way of the special planning of the country. They have road department, which is responsible for building highways and roads and etc., but not in charge of the development of the sustainable, connected and linked system of the transportation of the entire country. That's why like it's a problem for us, because each municipality is in charge of its transport, you know.
Yeah, but David, when you need to come from one municipality to the other, who makes this transport and who organized the transport? The transport.
You know, like we have like a Georgian railway who mostly distributes the flows.
Okay.
But for a kind of bus, it's like a really problem, because there is not operated like public buses. There is only private buses operated. That's why like it's in the direction of the cars, it's a really problem. I mean, because it's not a set any kind of policy between these kind of cities, and it's kind of private owners. They are just operated, and on a national level, only Georgian Railways distributes the passengers. But unfortunately, Georgian Railway is not really linked to like each municipality in a country, and you know.
It's interesting because in some dimensions, Tbilisi seems me to take very good decisions in order to organize their own metropolitan space. But in other topics, we have very deeply problems also. It's interesting to see.
Yeah, because you know, like after the collapsing of the Soviet Union, I mean, like 20 years ago, like a country went in a process of real stagnation, and there was really chaotic situation actually. And now, like everything is like setting. We are kind of following up. Actually, last year was a few years ago. Actually, was Georgia signed the agreement with the European Union, and it became kind of associate country, and now we are mostly follow the European policies and standards. And in every kind of, I can say, governmental direction, we have a kind of changes and adaptations with the EU laws and etc. But like you are aware that it needs a time for sure to set and to create the proper policies.
Yeah. And Leo, if we, I don't know, maybe you already have, maybe, or of course you already have, I don't know, some Metropolitan special plan or strategic plan. I don't know if you have something like that or some tool to manage all the metropolitan area. I don't know if you have, and it's interesting to know. And who was in charge for this? Was the metropolitan area, or it was like a decision from other layers, from the national government or the province, or how this work in
Yeah, well, at the moment we are in a change of the local or the law or the acts. We going to we changing the laws, and every municipality is supposed to have a so-called omgevingsvisie, a vision about your city. So we are all working on that at the moment, and Amsterdam is the first to have a vision on the urban area. Den Haag is working on it at the moment, and Rotterdam as well. And all those visions are inside the so-called national omgevingsvisie. Also, the national government had a so-called vision. We call it the NOVI, N-O-V-I. And inside that, we developed our own visions about the environment. So there is, but it's abstract. It's not quite clear, not in the way in the way of the planning we did in the past, actually, because in the past we had a quite concrete planning with so many cars going there and then there a road and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's more abstract.
More strategic? I don't know.
What?
More strategic.
Yeah. And the idea is also that every municipality had a vision, and the national country had a vision about development. And of course, they are those visions are connected to each other, more or less. That's the idea.
But Leo, for people that are outside of your reality, it could be strange to see a region with 2 million of people organized and working like a small island and not as an archipelago. So I don't know, but how you can...
The province had an important role in that as well.
Okay.
They gave the structure actually and the connection between those municipalities, of course. So they are not only islands. They are all, as told before, there's a collaboration, for example, on mobility, on economic affairs. There's a collaboration on education, for example, with the universities. So there are many collaborations.
Okay.
There's a collaboration on the whole issue of water management with another organization. So there are many collaborations. So, and they are all to be integrated in that so-called omgevingsvisie of the municipality and the national omgevingsvisie. So,
and that says yes, Leo. You are saying something? No.
No. Be aware that that's now in development at the moment. And Amsterdam is the first. Just before Christmas, they had the first municipality which has their omgevingsvisie ready. And Den Haag and Rotterdam, they are working on it. They had it already in concept. And parts of those omgevingsvisie are, of course, the energy transition, the issues of affordability of housing, climate adaptation, all those issues they try to integrate them. So
it's important.
yeah, it's a challenge, I must say that.
Yeah.
But
I suppose for Portugal, it was so difficult to make this management between the different ideas and interests and etc. So the cooperation just to work when the two municipalities can win together, and sometimes it's not possible. And when this is not possible, it's much more difficult to manage these interests. So and it's why sometimes we need to have like a tool that can outside of the two municipalities in order to solve or to impose or to solving the problem, because it's so difficult.
Yeah, no, that's also always the discussion between municipalities. There's always a debate. Of course, we are not only there's not only collaboration. There's also competition between municipalities.
Yeah,
and we have to deal with it.
Yeah.
You're correct.
It's normal. It's natural. And David, how you look to Tbilisi in with these about these topics, about the you have a special planning for all the municipalities or for all the metropolitan area, or each municipality have their own plan or a strategic plan?
We have like a
vision?
special planning we have only in a national level. And like afterwards, it's split it to the like municipalities which are developing land use master plans for, and each like a city strategies.
Mm-hmm. But if you need to draw or to propose like a new highway or new airport or something, or some important infrastructures that it's not only for a municipality, for all the places who decide, and where is this proposal, where is the
it's going to the central or national government, like with the Ministry of the Infrastructure and Regional Development and the Ministry of the Economical Development. And this kind of like a key kind of infrastructural utilities or buildings and kind of things are decided on a national level. And also in department of like a special planning, and there's a lot of stakeholders are involved on the national levels actually. And it's not decided on it like a city level.
Okay. And also for these three municipalities, you don't have like a common vision for the future, or like a strategic
you know, like when we were working on the land use master plan of Tbilisi, actually there was strategy also for the development and small vision of the metropolis, entire metropolis area. And as I mentioned, as these two cities are mostly satellite cities for Tbilisi, Tbilisi is like setting the main rules for the further development entire kind of for the satellite cities too. But itself, they have own land use master plans, which is kind of linked with Tbilisi too, of course. And they have all visions to how to be connected with Tbilisi.
You have made mention to the stakeholders, and I want to hear from you something about how is the dimension and the quality of the public participation, or if you want, the public involvement, not just to inform people or to give them some informations about the projects or interventions. I want to know how the civil society, the private sector, and all the organizations and movements are now taking account in the different sectoral issues of the metropolis. They are involved, or they made some movements in order to be heard, to talking about with the governments and local governments and etc., or you don't have concerns about that, any problems about
Yeah, we do have problems, and we do working about the direction. And for example, in case of the Tbilisi, we have like a web page of the Tbilisi City Hall where you can find any single construction permits, or I mean planned infrastructural kind of projects, and it's all transparent in the case of the Tbilisi, and every citizen can see what is going on in a city. But on another hand, the process is kind of transparent for Tbilisi, but for small municipalities, they have not resources and capacities to develop this kind of web pages. But step by step, by the municipalities, it becomes more transparent. But to talk about the Tbilisi, also sometimes it's process is transparent, but mostly people sometimes are not aware what is going on in a city, and sometimes we are lacking of the real public participation process. According of the law and legislation of the Tbilisi development plan, there is like a set rule that we have to involve people in the process of the development. And according to the practice, City Hall actually step by step, they are starting and launching a lot of public hearings about the several projects, and they are becoming more open for the society. Before, that kind of practice really did not exist at all in the country, but step by step, we are setting this kind of rules. Most especially also last year, I was involved in one of the projects which was supported by the Asian Development Bank. It was about the neighborhood park development, and we have organized several workshops for a citizen, and they have take active part in the design process actually. And also in some part of the city, when City Hall announcing of the kind of creation of the public spaces, they are making presentations, and also Mayor of the Tbilisi actually is a keynote of to become kind of more closely with the citizens, and he set some Facebook lives from the site of the construction of the parks and etc. But still, that issue is kind of, and that kind of case of the public participation is pretty new for Georgia actually, and we are trying step by step to develop more. But on another hand, there also exists problem with the society itself, because sometimes government can be open, but also we need more active citizens, because some of the citizens sometimes they doesn't care what is going on in a city, and they think that their voice cannot be heard or something like that, and they prefer to stay
But
calm.
David, for example, you have made mention to the problem of housing, and do you have some movements with connect with the housing problem or housing issue, or no? Some movement, some organization that
unfortunately not. Unfortunately, we are lacking of the affordable and general housing policy, because mostly we do not have real good system of the social housing system, and there was some research done about that, and government is also working, but still we are lacking about this kind of policies and the direction. Because mostly all houses are privatized, old houses, I mean, and mostly the private sector are building a new block of flats, and in a way of this social housing, we are lacking of the policies and laws, and the system is not set actually.
Okay, thank you. And Leo, what we have in your region, we have I suppose that it's traditional, it's classical, but I suppose that you have a very, very strong public participation and public involvement, or?
Well, that's at the moment an issue, especially in Den Haag, because there was the new plans for the structural plan, actually, for the new center of Den Haag. And then alderman is forced by the city council to draw their plans back because there was no participation. There was only information for the public, but the public themselves is not just the public. There are many people who live in there around the city center of Den Haag, which are urban planners, geographers, and they make their own alternative participation system. So, and then there was a fight about amenities because the city want to build many new units, apartments and towers, but they don't have money actually for all the amenities with it. For example, if you build 4,000 units, then you need a school, or you need a playground, and you need all those things. But the city don't have the money for that, and they shifted to the future, and then they got a row in the city council about that, and now, yeah, it's drawn back, the plans for the city center, and they had to redraw it. And at the moment in Den Haag, and I guess it's the same in Rotterdam, participation is not like in the 70s. It's now only information to the public.
It's strange because
Yeah, it's a pity, to be honest.
But as I have made mention to Tbilisi, you have made mention also to the problem of housing problem. So, and this problem don't create some movements or some civical movements in order to ask for more housing, more affordable housing, or because in Lisbon we have a lot of different movements around this problem, because the tourism brings a huge problem for people that wants to living in the city center, and now it's so difficult to find an housing, and so it starts to create some movements around this issue, and now they are very, very important, and they have a very strong force, and the municipality wants to negotiate, if you want, talk with them. So when you're talking about the housing problem, I suppose that we can see the same or not. I don't know, Leo.
Well, yeah, there's a lack of affordable housing at the moment in the Netherlands. But the housing market is separated in the people who are living in a house already, and they have the right to vote in the city, and people who don't have a house and looking for a house, but are not still a part of the city. So they are, and at the moment, housing shortage is a very important issue in the elections, the coming elections in March, and also that's national elections, but also, for example, in the local elections. But still, the problem is quite complex. It's even though the left-wing or right-wing party is in charge, it doesn't matter, because the price of a plot is so high that
I understand.
simply cannot solve it.
Yeah. This is the problem. This is the same. Yeah, this is the same question. So, in the same line, I want to ask you about the current context that we have from this pandemic context.
Yeah,
you have seen some metropolitan issues or tensions about this problem, or the strategy for facing the problem. It was only from the national government, and the municipalities are only some operational units, or you have seen some tensions or some problems in the solution of this huge problem. How you look to the metropolitan area facing this pandemic context, Leo?
yeah. Yeah, it's an issue, of course, at the moment. They expect a change in the city that nowadays they expect that about 20% of your time. Actually, with a lot of companies, it didn't go that bad because they worked already in the cloud with internet. And now everybody discovered that it went quite well, actually, working with internet and at home.
Yeah.
So now a lot of companies decided, okay, let's start to work at home for 2 days a week, and then 3 days a week you're working in the city. So that's a change, actually. That means that a lot of companies do not need that expensive office space into the city, because office space is extremely expensive in the city. So people are now allowed to work 2 or 3 days at home, and then 2 or 3 days in the city in the office. So
And in the cities, you have seen some changes also, because
yeah, not yet, because it's quiet in the city. Everything is closed. Restaurants are closed, bars are closed, shops are closed. But it is expecting that if everything is open, that amenities as restaurants, bars, whatever, shops are playing a more important role in the cities than, for example, workspace as offices, because amenities attract cities.
Yeah.
And it's not necessary anymore to work in the city. You work just partly in the city to meet your colleagues and to have, to work together.
But for you, people wants to go to outside of the cities or the metropolitan region, or what you feel?
Yeah, there's a lot people moved already from the cities areas to outside the city areas, but not far away outside, but just in the middle parts of the Netherlands, not to the border because that's too far. That there is the population shrinking, but you have a so-called urban landscape, and that urban landscape is the middle part of the Netherlands and one of the South province, and there's the whole community, or all the Netherlands, all the people in the Netherlands are concentrated there. So they're not living in the center of Amsterdam because nobody can. It's not affordable anymore, or Den Haag, but they live outside, but just nearby the city. And thanks to public transport, you can easily go to the city. So
I ask you because also in Lisbon and in some municipalities around, we can see some changes. For example, in mobility, they are improved. For example, cycle lanes for more for bikes and walkable lines and etc. So we can see some changes now.
It's expected that the city will change, and also outside the city, the suburbs or the villages around the cities, which is quite popular to live nowadays.
Okay, thank you, Leo. And David, what we can see about
in
this
the regard,
problem in Tbilisi?
yeah, in this regard of the COVID restrictions and COVID pandemic, actually, Tbilisi is one of the touristic spot, and in a metropolitan area, the another city, Mtskheta, also, as I mentioned, it's heritage site, and also like it's a kind of really touristic spot. And of course, this kind of without a tourist, this kind of like a downtown of the Tbilisi and entire Mtskheta has become kind of really empty. And we have really big crisis in the regard of the hospitality business. I mean, hotels and restaurants and everything. And another issue and problem was that because of the restriction in in the entire country, actually, during the several months, actually last 2 months, actually, like public transport was banned, actually, and people can only travel with the private cars, and it caused really a really big economic problem for the society, because not everybody has their own car, and it was really big issue of the problem to move, because they entirely stopped and they stay at home. And of course, it's kind of good to stay at home during the pandemic, but on another hand, some people need to go outside and to work to survive, and that's why like it was like a main challenge and problem. But fortunately now the public transport is allowed since last week, and there start some movement, and there's hope as a vaccine already launched, and we hope for like a better future.
And do you feel also some changes in the cities? Some urban interventions in order to promote more sustainable mobility or more active mobility, or more urban public spaces, or
yeah, actually, according to this pandemic and the restriction, actually this cyclist direction was kind of promoted. A lot of people just bought a bike and they start to cycle, or most of them, they start like a healthy lifestyle. They are walking a lot to the workplaces, and most of them, they went to the summer houses or bit outskirts of the city. And as Leo mentioned, they are perfectly working from the kind of bit direction, not in an office, outside of the office, and it's really possible. And some of the people explored kind of new things in their lives on a positive way. Some of them went back to the villages, and still they are working from the villages, and it's kind of really possible. And because before that, villages were empty. Because most of people are working in cities and towns, and now people are back on the home villages and hometowns, and the towns, small towns, I mean, on another hand, became more alive. But I can say that Tbilisi became more empty, but small towns became more alive. It has advantages and disadvantages,
Yeah, interesting. And people that living already in Tbilisi wants to move to outside, or not?
It depends. Some of the people, they decided to move, and they prefer to buy kind of single family house nearby the city, because still within this kind of regulation and restriction, they feel kind of really problems when they were closed in an apartment in a small box, because they was not allowed to go outside. Also, nowadays, it's not allowed to go after 9 p.m. outside, and it's kind of it's like a stress for people, and that's why they prefer to move nearby to Tbilisi to feel more space and freedom.
Okay, thank you so much for this talk. I don't know if you have some final words, but or some conclusions. I don't, because this is a talk, I suppose that we don't have conclusions, but but I want to if you want to tell us some final words, you feel free, but I want to thank you a lot, because this was a very, very nice talk, and we learned a lot about Hagen, Delft, and Rotterdam, and also from Tbilisi, because are so two different cities or urban regions that it's interesting to compare, because the dynamic, the involvement of people, the dimension, it's also different, and it's interesting to see how you organize yourself in order to give the better quality of life to people. It's not easy, I understand, because it's so many interests, but it's so nice to hear you. I don't know, but if you wants to tell the final words, you can say, if you
I just would like to thank you, because for me it was like a great opportunity to share with this kind of information with you and to hear about the Delft in Netherlands in general, and also like some problems and challenges in Lisbon. And this kind of platforms plays a really big role in the way of the professional development, just to share like common problems and challenges. And it's really good opportunity. And thank you once again.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for me the same actually. Thank you a lot, because I love to hear about Tbilisi and Lisboa. I think they're both fantastic cities. So
yeah, it
nice.
makes cities more connected to each other.
Makes cities more connected. Yeah, and I think a lot problems are more or less the same in all the cities. I'm afraid, so, or not afraid, but I'm convinced. So
okay,
thank you a lot.
Thank you a lot also for your time, and it was so nice to hear you. And yeah, we can see sometimes, or in Lisbon, or in Tbilisi, or in I don't know, but let's see. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
so nice.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
Jorge.